Tori Kruse. Welcome to my channel. If you're new, please subscribe and hit that notification bell. Also follow me on social media at Miss Tori Kruse. I really appreciate it. Okay, so today we have on the show Nia Sanchez. She was a Miss USA 2014, first runner-up to Miss Universe, and she is now a host, a pageant coach, and everything in between. So welcome, Nia. Thank you so much for being here, and I'm so excited to hear more about your journey. So if we could first just start off and have you explain how you got into pageantry and describe what you're up to now.
Absolutely. Okay, so I'll try to make a long story short for you, but I actually started in pageantry completely on a whim. I was watching Miss USA 2009 on TV from my mom's couch in Seattle, Washington. I had kind of heard of pageants and participated a little bit here and there, but never was like into pageants. Growing up, I did Taekwondo. I always wanted to wear no makeup, look as tough as I could. So this whole like pageant thing was new, but exciting for me. So I was flipping through channels, landed on Miss USA, called the state recruiter right away, was like, hey, I want to sign up for this pageant thing. And she was actually like, hold on, I'm watching Miss USA. Can you call me back later? And I was like, oh, shoot. Like, this is a thing that like people actually participate in and like stay engaged with. So I was like, yeah, sure. We'll call and we'll talk after. So I called her after the pageant. We discussed it, and then I signed up for a local competition that was 19 years old, and it took me 5 years of competing over and over again at the local, regional, and state level to eventually win the state of Nevada, where I'm not originally from, which I feel like everybody knows that by now, but I had family there. I grew up going to Nevada my whole childhood, and I actually had a job there. So I won in Nevada, went off to Miss USA, and was completely blessed to have the title of Miss USA.
That's amazing. And I think what's really inspiring too is that it wasn't just an overnight success. And for many of us, I can definitely relate because it took me it was my sixth try when I finally won. And I know that pain and that frustration, but also like everything you learned through that process. So what advice would you have for girls who are going through that process and are experiencing all those no's before they get that one yes?
Oh, yes, I completely relate to that too. It took me 5 years of trying over and over and over again to eventually get to that state title before Miss USA. So I encourage girls to never give up, to always grow and learn. I think that every single situation that you experience in life, whether it's good or bad, you can learn from it. So maybe there was a terrible experience that you had. Hopefully not. Like pageants, that's not the norm for pageant girls.
No.
But there are those occasional like crazy directors or I don't know, something here and there. And you could have had even a bad experience, but you can learn who you are as a person. You can learn how to deal with other people. You can take the good and leave all the bad from every situation that you encounter. So I say learn from every experience, grow, and just become better. And whether or not at the end of the day you get a crown on the top of your head, you will always become a better person each step of the way. So there's so much to benefit from pageantry beyond even the crown. Yes, the crown is the goal. Of course, we're working towards it. We want to win it, but there's so much more that you can gain at the same time. So just never give up and learn from every situation.
So what is the number one thing that you think pageantry taught you that you still use to this day?
Oh my gosh, how can I pick one thing?
I know you can't, but just try.
So much. Okay.
Maybe two.
Something that, I mean, if we're being like real practical and we're not being like all fancy pageant answer, like practical kind of things, I learned how to network. I learned it over the years, meeting different people, how to interact with other people, how to intentionally ask for a business card if I was not handed one because I was interested in either the person's company or whatever it might have been. And a tip and trick that I learned that I'm going to pass on right now, I usually share, especially with my Miss USA sisters, but to anybody else that's watching, is when you receive a business card, try to write down something you remember about that person. 2 daughters, or met at this and this event in summer 2019, or something to remind you so that when you do reach out to them, you can say, hey, oh my gosh, loved meeting you at the blah, blah, blah event. How are you doing? Just wanted to connect and say hi and great to meet you. So I learned how to network, how to be smart and strategic. And beyond just networking, it's building friendships within networking, because I feel like friendships are the type of relationships that you are mutually beneficial because you want to help each other. Like if you can help that person in any way, you're happy to do so, and vice versa, rather than just hey, I want from this person, but building a relationship. So that's something that I definitely learned. If we're trying to be practical, I could think of 1,000 other things, how to interview, how to have poise and carry myself well. But if we're being practical, that's something that I really am glad I learned.
That's really good advice. I love the down to earth, the practical, because that's what people need to see, because I feel like when there's such a bright light shining on pageant girls that are on live on Fox or wherever it is, you always see the glam part of it. So to get down and right to it, I think that's amazing. So networking is definitely a very big benefit of pageantry for sure. And speaking of networking, the Global Beauty Awards, where Maureen Francisco, who she connected us, thank you, Maureen. She has a phenomenal networking event. And so that's where Nia and I actually ran into each other a couple years ago. And so it just, you never know who's going to cross your path, like no matter what, and know how to approach them is so huge.
Absolutely. And I love Maureen, and I love what she does. She's so great with not only her girls, but all the pageant girls that she brings together. She's amazing.
It's so true. So true. So Nia, what would you say as far as interviewing skills? I know you mentioned that a little bit, but what are the most important things that girls can bring to an interview?
Whew, okay. So not only have I competed for 5 years before winning and becoming Miss USA and then doing thousands of interviews as Miss USA, but since then, in the last 5 years, I've also judged local, regional, state, and also national and international competitions. So I've seen both sides. I've been in the chair and then I've been in the judging chair. So I know both sides of it. There's so much when it comes to interview, and I love this because I actually coach, and so coaching interview is one of my favorite things for pageant girls. Not only pageant girls, I've had girls that have said, hey, I have college interviews, I have this interview, and I coach across the board. But one of the most important things is just doing your best to be really, really true to who you are and being real. There's a whole other conversation we can have on that, because it's like, well, sometimes who am I? So that's a whole nother conversation. But bringing your natural, true self to the interview room, people relate with that so much more, rather than trying to be perfect. A perfect pageant patty is what I encourage people to shy away from, because people go there, I understand, because they don't want to sound silly or make a mistake. So they just want to come across as polished and perfect. Mm-hmm. But in reality, that's not who any of us are. So a judge wants to connect with someone in their true, authentic self. So even if like I messed up even in this interview or said something that I didn't mean to say, it's okay in the pageant interview room to be like, oh my gosh, I don't know why I said that. This is what I was trying to say. But judges love that. Judges aren't perfect. Pageant girls are not perfect, believe it or not. So it's okay to just be yourself. I always tell girls, in one of my first interviews competing at Miss California, I was 19 years old. I was competing against people like Nana Merriweather, who had graduated from 2 universities, I think at that point, or was attending her second, UCLA and USC. She had a charity in Africa. She was going to school to be a doctor, like all these things. I was 19 years old. She was first runner-up. I was second runner-up. I, in my interview, talked about working at Victoria's Secret and how women show me their boobs all the time. I'm sorry, I don't know. You have to like cut that. And living with grandma who's German, and I love the culture. Like, we were just having fun, and the judges remembered me. And same for Miss USA. I talked about passing gas on a first date, or like a first date with a guy in my Miss USA interview, but had the judges laughing because it was a real true story, and I was sharing like the realness, and I'm sure the judges did not forget me after that. So there was obviously way better, strong parts of the interview talking about why I would be a great Miss USA, but I also wasn't afraid of being myself. And I think that's what made me stand out and what makes other girls stand out.
Now that you are past competing in pageants, exactly, you now do coaching. Do you stick with just pageant coaching, or like you said, you kind of go abroad?
So for the most part, it's pageant coaching. And what's been really fun for me is to expand to every system. So it's not just the USA system, which that system I feel like a beyond expert in. I've coached so many girls, I've competed myself, but the Miss America system, UNM, NAM, all the systems out there, more than I can even name, I've coached for. So it's really fun. I enjoy working with girls on every single aspect, because there's so much more to competing and winning than just your interview or having a perfect pageant walk. Those are important as well. But mental space, emotional space, how are you doing up here? That's number one for me. I love the little details, like working on wardrobe and bio, it's just so much fun. But like you said, I've worked with other women in other areas of their lives, and I'm actually pursuing becoming an actual life coach. So beyond pageants, there's so much more. Like, you're done with pageants in your mid-20s. What's beyond that? There's so much more. So I want to be able to continue working with young women on their journeys to continue helping them pass even pageantry.
That's excellent. And also with your coaching, you also do hosting. So explain a little bit about your hosting career and what you have hosted in the past.
Well, I don't think we have enough time for all of it in the interview, but if we're going to specifically, we'll start with pageant hosting. I've obviously hosted pageants, Miss Nevada, and other ones as well. I have hosted backstage at Miss USA in the Chi Lounge, the Miss Universe National Costume Show, as well as recently this year I hosted Miss Teen USA. So I've had tons of fun in that world. I also have hosted a food and travel show, which is really fun. I'm so excited. I get to eat and travel. Like, those are my favorite things in the whole wide world.
That's ideal.
Yeah, no complaints there. And I've hosted red carpets and different events. So I just really enjoy it across the board. And I think it's something that's a really natural, easy path for pageant girls that are comfortable in front of the camera. Mm-hmm. Some title holders are more comfortable behind the camera, and that's fine too. They really love getting, their hands dirty with whatever type of like charity work it might be. And they don't always want to be forefront in the camera, and that's fine too. But for those ones that are comfortable in front of the camera, like me, I definitely enjoy that.
What do you suggest for girls that want to become a host?
Oh, there's so many things. I feel like every question you ask me, I'm like, how do I just give you one answer? But it's good. So there's definitely classes that you can take. So if hosting does not feel like it comes natural to you, there are classes that teach you step by step what to do. Tons in LA, tons in New York, and I'm sure in other big cities across the US. But one thing that I love to do when it comes to pageantry or hosting or anything like that is to watch people that you aspire to be like, see what works, see what in them captivates you, because that's something that you're attracted to, and then try to see how you can bring that version of yourself out, whatever it might be. Maybe you love hosts that are really bubbly and fun, or really serious and clear with their words. So find what you love the most in others and pull that out of you naturally. It's not like, don't try to be someone else, but build that up in yourself to see that natural talent in yourself as well.
Wonderful. And I think that goes with everything too. It's just like, if you just be yourself, you're going to succeed in some way, and you're not going to ever make it as someone else. So be your genuine self. And I think that's the best advice that you could give.
And everybody else is taken.
So exactly. Exactly. Okay. So when you were a child, back in your childhood, you were in Taekwondo. Mm-hmm. Let's talk a little bit about what you do now from that expertise.
Absolutely. So yes, I feel like my whole life, pretty much since I was 8 years old. So over 20 years now, which makes me sound so old, but over 20 years I've been training in martial arts. Specifically, Taekwondo was what I started in. As I got into my teens, I started training in Jujitsu, which I'm obsessed with. So Taekwondo is standing up, how to defend, and it's a beautiful martial art, standing up, hands and feet for the most part. Jujitsu is on the ground. So I've spent a lot of time training in Jujitsu in my late teens and early 20s. And that's if a fight gets taken to the ground, what do you do there? I also trained in Muay Thai. So I really enjoy that. And I've taken everything I've learned from multiple martial arts and created my own self-defense course that I teach. It's not a course. I would say it's a workshop. I would say you could call it like self-defense 101. So I travel to different cities teaching self-defense to women. I actually have a New York stop and an LA stop, which I live in LA, but New York and LA in September, and I'm partnering with Aloe. So I'm super excited for that.
That's amazing.
I'm so excited. And it's just really cool because there's so many things that us as women have heard before, and we kind of have an idea. And then so many things that after my workshop, I hear women tell me, I never thought about that. I never knew that. I never knew that was a way to prevent an attack. So when I teach my workshops, most important is prevention. Let's never have a physical confrontation with a man and not have to deal with that, because you were aware of your surroundings and you're able to prevent it in the first place. That's number one. Mm-hmm. I'd rather you prevent an attack than ever have to use the techniques that I teach. But then when it comes to actual self-defense, I teach multiple different types of like escape or evasion. So if someone grabs you from any type of standing position, whatever it is, hair, throat, arms, wrapped around your body, whatever it might be. I teach escape from that. And then also, because so many attacks do go to the ground, I teach ground escape techniques as well. The techniques that I teach are, like, I would say, essential tool belt techniques. If you can kind of think about it like that, like if you're building a house, you need some essentials. You need a hammer, you need some nails. Like, those are essential things you need. I always tell women, if you can, get plugged in somewhere and continue to train, because there's so much more that you could learn. But I want to provide women with the essentials first to prevent, and then to be able to escape. One other thing on that, I always have men be like, you can never fight me. I'm like, no, I'm not trying to stand there and box a 6'2", 200-pound man. Absolutely not. But I do want to know what techniques I can do to quickly hurt you and escape, and like get myself out of that physical confrontation. So no, I'm not going to box a man. I'm not trying to teach any woman how to stand there and fight a man, but to get away and to get yourself to safety is most important.
Absolutely. So this past weekend, I was actually in a situation where there were two men that were stalking us and a group of women. Oh, and we found them, or they found us 2 nights back to back. And we were in a large city and they found us. And so we reported them to the police. But as you're standing there, and I turn around and I see these men staring at us, and they were 2 very, very large men. And so what would you recommend for girls that they're in that position? Like, what should I have done? Do you say something to them? Do you look them in the eye? How do you actually prevent something from happening that you know is really weird?
Right. So something I would say is, as women, we need to trust our intuition. So you did notice, you were aware. That is very, very good. That's all the right steps. Depends on where you're at and what the situation is. So maybe you're walking down the street to a restaurant or to a bar with your friends. It's making sure that you are around other people, so you're not singled out without bystanders around that could potentially help if it did escalate. You want them to know that you're aware of them. You don't need to like wave and say, hey, like, no, obviously not. But either picking up your phone when they can even hear you as you're walking to a place with people, hopefully, and calling the police. Hi, yes, I have 2 men that have been following me, and making sure that they can hear you. Even if, say, there was a situation where you weren't able to get around people, letting them know that you're on the phone with the police or someone else, that you're not, it makes you feel not alone to them, essentially. Yes. Thank goodness you are with another friend, because it's even scarier if you're alone. So for example, if a woman's walking by herself down the street, she feels like someone's following her. Like, we have good intuition. We can kind of feel it. One first step to do it to kind of be aware if they are actually following you, or if you're just a little nervous, to cross the street. If they cross the street and follow you, that is definitely an immediate sign that they are pursuing you. Picking up your phone, actually calling your dad, actually calling someone, being like, hey, oh, yep, you're right around the corner. I'll be there in 1 second. And using your voice, so they don't think that you're just this girl walking by yourself that they can attack. That no, there's someone, there's a man, there's someone else that you're going to be with very soon, even if it's not real, but you're doing everything you can to prevent an attack in the first place. So everything you did was correct. You need to report them, all of that kind of stuff. You need to even stand tall, have that confident posture, and as quick as possible get around other people, because that creates safety. People that are the type of people that attack, in real life, they're cowards. They don't want someone else to know. They don't want an audience for whatever they're hoping to do. So trying to up that bystander intervention score is really important. Like, if the more bystanders, the less likelihood of any type of attack, for sure.
Do you have any like top 3 moves that you would make if somebody actually did come up behind you, they grabbed you, or just simple things that maybe you could just show us on the video right now?
Yes. Okay. So it's so hard to do without like someone with me to demonstrate. But the first thing, right, like if you can feel like an imminent attack about to happen, using your voice really loud and stepping back. So creating space. Space is your friend. You want to create space. Stepping back with your hands up. Having your hands up is also, you would be able to use your palm to strike if they got too close. Like if they went for your shoulders or your neck, and they were, first of all, you should try your best never to let someone get that close. That's why jumping back, creating space. If they come into your space, a palm straight to the nose is going to be so extremely painful. So you want to strike and get away as quick as possible. There's other techniques where like they grab your arm, they grab with 2 hands, they grab your neck, different ways to escape. It's really hard to show without like, I need my husband here so you can like.
Where's your husband when you need him?
I know, exactly. He's working today. But I have been requested so many times to get like little itsy bitsy like technique or move tutorials up on YouTube. So I need to do something like that, or my Insta TV or something along those lines. I need to get that happening. But yeah, just creating space, using your voice. Don't, oh no, don't go away. Like you have to project your voice. The thing is, bystanders are your friends. You want people to know what's going on. You want to use your voice. And I would say one really key piece of advice is never go to point B with the attacker. So if they have a knife and you're afraid like, oh, they might hurt me here, imagine what they would do when no one has a chance of being around. If you're on a public street, use your voice. Do not go, drop your body weight, whatever it takes. If you get hurt there, I'd rather you be hurt there than who knows what will happen if you're in isolation. But a thing that I say in my workshops, and it kind of sounds scary, but it's good to like get your mind thinking that way, is isolation equals death. Like that's so scary, but I'd rather you be injured and able to call for help in a public place where people could come to your rescue rather than isolation. So no matter what it is, do everything in your power not to go with whoever that bad person is, but use that voice, create space as much as you can, and get away as quick as possible. Those are my like tips without showing physical things. But yeah, for women, one more thing. I know that some people say like, oh, punch him in the face or whatever. If you don't know how to punch, we can really quickly, easily hurt our wrists as women because they're not strong. So I always say use your palm. It's the side here, if maybe that's to the throat instead of a punch to the throat, or palm to the nose and open hand to the ears, very painful. Things like that are going to be more effective than an actual physical punch.
So if women are looking for a self-defense class, how would you recommend they find one?
Okay, great point. So I think Jujitsu is very effective. Gracie Jujitsu specifically is the workshop or the class that I'm in right now, and I love it. They have a women's empowerment class that is specifically for women to escape technique, like and teaching escape techniques like that, not necessarily like there's, I would say with martial arts, there's like a beauty of the art. Whether it's Taekwondo and it's standing up like a beautiful art of Taekwondo, and same with Jujitsu. And you're going to learn a lot of escape techniques in a regular Jujitsu class, but it's also going to be like a beautiful art, like things that you might not use on the street. So I would say try to find a women's Jujitsu class if you can. I would say of all the martial arts out there, if you're looking for a specific self-defense technique type class, Jujitsu is going to be the one for you. Specifically, if you can find Jujitsu that's for women, that's going to be even better and even more effective. And then keep an eye out for my workshops if they're coming to a city near you.
Yes, especially if you are in LA or New York, because I have seen actually photos on Instagram. I've never been to one, but I really, really want to make it to one sometime. But I've seen photos and you have an amazing turnout of women. What you're doing is exactly what we need. So amazing job. And any advice you have for women overall as a whole?
Ooh, okay.
Loaded question.
I know, such a big question. I love it. I'm actually going to share something I just told my friend like 20, 30 minutes ago in the Uber ride home. And I think, yes, for women, but also for all people, our mental space is so important. Being happy, joyful, joy is a choice. Happiness is kind of dependent on what's going on. So being joyful, all of that, our mental space is so important that that's what sets us up for success. So if I'm going to give you my best piece of advice that's just coming to my mind right now, I'm going to say that if it doesn't matter in 5 years, don't give it 5 minutes. So I think, like I said, mental space is so important. So if we can really be in tune and intentional with where we're at mentally and emotionally and spiritually, that can set us up for so much success in other areas of our life, no matter what it is, whether it's work, pageants, anything and everything in between, relationships. If it's not going to matter in 5 years, don't give it more than 5 minutes. That includes men. If he's not going to be around in 5 years, don't give him more than 5 minutes. We ain't got time for that. So literally everything. I feel like it's just such a good thing that's been resonating with me personally. Yeah, if it doesn't matter in 5 years, don't give it more than 5 minutes of your time or your emotions.
I love it. I love it. Well, thank you so much, Nia. And I really want to have my followers follow you on your YouTube channel. You provide amazing content. So tell us a little bit about how we can find you on social media. If anybody is looking to hire you for a hosting job or anything else, how can we reach you?
Thank you. Okay, so Real Nia Sanchez is most of my social media. I could not secure it for YouTube. So it's Nias. You can probably just type in Nia Sanchez or Nia Sanchez Booko, Booko, and that's my YouTube channel. Besides that, you can just reach out to me. My email is on my Instagram, on my YouTube videos, all of that, but it's nia.bookings@gmail.com for any business emails or pageant coaching emails.
Well, thank you so much. It's been such a pleasure to see you again. And I just really appreciate your time and everything you bring. You've brought so much incredible information and content for the listeners. So thank you so much. And I hope to see you soon in LA.
Yay, absolutely. Thank you so much.
Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed that episode just as much as I did. Please put your comments below, click subscribe, and hit that notification bell. Also, follow me on social media at Miss Tori Kruse. Until next time, be unstoppable.